A warm good morning to one and all of you. I, Neha Sharon from 5th SEM ISC, takes immense pleasure to welcome all to NIIT webinar series from 28th September to 5th October. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Bansilal Sir, Management of NIIT, our HOD, Mr. Chandru AS Sir, teaching and non-teaching staff of ISC, and last but not the least, my dear friends. In this 6 days webinar series, the participants are able to have an in-depth knowledge about various topics such as managerial communications, artificial intelligence, career guidance about MBA, adversities during engineering, and a kickstart about Azure. The resource persons who will be joining us during this series are Mr. Krishnanand S.H., Research Engineer, Amplisoft; Mr. Varun K. Gowda, Customer Success Manager, Oracle India Private Limited, our proud alumnus; Mr. Narasimha M., Finance Analyst, Aspect Software; Mr. Aniruddha Padmanabh Sir, Founder of the Thought School; Mr. S. Gopinath, Software Architect, WIPLI; Mr. Ashish, Software Developer and renowned YouTuber. Today is the first day of this webinar series, that is an interaction session on engineering during adversities by today's speaker, Mr. Aniruddha Padmanabh Sir, founder of the Thought School. Aniruddha Padmanabh Sir is a TEDx speaker, leadership and social skill mentor with 15 plus years of corporate experience. He is now actively engaged with various corporates and delivers research-backed quality training that has already impacted thousands of professionals. We welcome you, sir. Now, without any further ado, I request Mr. Aniruddha Padmanabh sir to begin the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sharon. That's a sweet and kind introduction of you. I'm excited to see you all on this wonderful Monday morning, right? We usually talk about Monday blues. Here we are breaking the blues, and we are here with all the excitement. And this is my first session on Google Meet. So I am also trying to figure out a lot of things. Let me try sharing my screen. Kindly let me know if in case if it's visible. Give me a quick minute. Can you see the screen? Can somebody please respond?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So basically, I'm not an engineer. I have my MBA, I have my business management. And as introduced, I have founded an organization called the Thought School. As the name suggests, the way we think is the way we are. Every morning we wake up to a lot of messages on our WhatsApp, lot of forwards that keeps talking about positive thinking and how do we think and how do we align ourselves. So as human beings, we are all blessed. We are all blessed to have the ability to think. We are all blessed to have the ability to feel. But when I say it is a blessing, for a lot of us, that itself is a curse. Unless otherwise, we know how to think in situations, especially in situations which are not pleasant for us. That is when somebody will carve out their own way or someone else will succumb to the situations. So in my today's session, in the short session that I have, I would be addressing about my knowledge and my understanding about engineering during adversities. When I'm talking about engineering, I'm not essentially talking about what you guys learn as academics, but in terms of engineering ourselves so that we make ourselves prepared to handle any situation and circumstances that we may face in our lives. Just to go forward, let's begin with a short story. So here are two camels. So the baby camel is conversing with the mother camel. Mother, may I ask you some questions? Sure. Why, son? Is there something bothering you? Why do camels have humps? Mother answers, well, son, we are desert animals. We need the humps to store water, and we are known to survive without water. Okay. Then why are our legs long and our feet rounded? Son, Obviously, they're meant for walking in the desert better than anyone else does. Okay? Then why are our eyelashes long? Sometimes it bothers my sight. My son, those long, thick eyelashes are your protective cover. They help to protect your eyes from the desert sand and wind. I see. So the hump is to store water when we are in the desert. The legs are for walking through the desert, and these eyelashes protect my eyes from the desert sand. Just one more question, mother. Yes, dear. What the hell are we doing in the zoo? Right? So I'm sure you all have laughed about it. When we're talking about this situation, this story of camel, a camel has all the necessary faculties built in itself so that it can survive the harsh climates, harsh weather, and the temperatures of the desert. If we personalize it for ourselves as human beings, the only difference is that we as humans put all the animals in the zoo where animals are helpless and hopeless, and we captivate them and we put them in prisons. But unfortunately, most of us will put ourselves in prisons, though we have all the faculties, all the necessary intelligence, all the necessary intellect to deal with any situations in the world, to make the best out of our time on planet Earth. We unfortunately put ourselves in a cages that are not constructed by outside, but are constructed by within ourselves. When I'm referring to that, a lot of us are enslaved to our own thinking. A lot of us are enslaved to a lot of our own emotions. But if we realize that we have all the capabilities to break this zoo that we have created for ourselves, to break this prison that we have created for ourselves, that is the time where all of us can come out of our cocoons of comforts and fly out as butterflies. And I'm sure all of you in this forum are looking forward to be the butterflies where you fly with flying colors. When I'm talking about this, we all understand the theory of evolution. Unfortunately, now when we look around us, we find animals more happy. More than human beings, animals seem to be more happy. Reason is very simple. Animals do not have the freedom that a human being has. When I'm talking about freedom that we have, nature has trusted human intelligence to a great depth and given us the freedom to choose what we want to be. Somebody can be an engineer, somebody can be an artist, somebody can be a scientist, someone else can be a poet. Somebody can become a painter while another person becomes a spiritual mystic. So nature has given us the freedom to experiment and experience life to the fullest possibilities with our own intelligence. But when we look at ourselves, today we suffer our freedom. When I say we suffer our freedom, of course, I'm not saying world is a rosy place. I'm not saying earth do not have any problems. But majority of the problems that we are suffering today are caused by human ignorance. It can be population explosion, or it can be environmental problems, the ecosystem imbalance, or the global warming. All these things are only because human beings do not understand how to construct themselves, how to engineer themselves. And instead of understanding that, we have gone ahead to engineer the world in such a way that it gives us comfort, in such a way that we get all the luxuries, in such a way that it fulfills all our necessities. That is the whole reason today's human population, though we are at the most advanced level of evolution, both in terms of animalistic evolution, at the same time, when we look at our ancestors who were fellow human beings, we are at a much, much better place than them. Gone are the days where a hunter has to go and hunt food when he's hungry. Today, when you're hungry, food comes hunting to you in the name of Swiggy and Zomato. All that you need to do is use your smartphone, click your options, food comes hunting to you. You don't have to go and hunt the food. But unfortunately, with most of the human beings today, the only smart thing about them has become their smartphones. So today, we will understand a little about how do we engineer ourselves as individuals, as human beings, so that whatever we would love to do in our life, we have the liberty to do it, and we break the limitations that we are putting into ourselves. I was just browsing through the definition of engineering on Google. So Google just celebrated its birthday yesterday. I was just Googling it. Definition of engineering, as Google gave me: the branch of science and technology concerned with the design, building, and use of engines, machines, and structures. I'm sure you've all been drilled down on all these things. The second one was the action of working artfully to bring something about. If you look at it, I have underlined science and technology and artfully to bring something about it. When I was doing my MBA, usually one of the questions which was always debated is management science or arts? Define management being science and arts. So science and arts go hand in hand. So is engineering, so is our life. Even if you carefully pay attention to a flower, you will find it geometrically perfect. At the same time, it is so artfully designed. So every aspect of life, it's not just the academics engineering that you study. Everything that you look around in the world has an element of science and art. It's just human intellect which is trying to understand. It is human intellect which is trying to understand the dimensions of art and science. So in this pursuit, we may become artists, we may become scientists, but whatever it is, unless otherwise we balance our art and science together, we would not be able to be successful. And when we are talking about artfully bringing something about, especially during times of adversities, that is when we really need to artfully create ourselves. When I'm talking about this, why does this interest me, science and technology and artful in the definition of engineering is, as human beings, we are all aware, we have two ways of thinking, a creative thinking ability and critical thinking ability. Everything to do with logic, everything to do with facts, everything to do with numbers is our creative, critical ability to think. Everything to appreciate beauty, everything to have a sense of aesthetics, where we appreciate art and culture and dance and music, we also have a creative ability. And both the things are possible for a human being at the same time. So you can utilize your creative ability and critical ability to construct what you want to create in the world. But before that, we all need to understand, how do we create an environment within ourselves where I know how to balance my creative thinking and critical thinking. When I was introduced as the founder of Thought School, because the whole background of Thought School is to enable human beings to use their abilities of critical thinking and creative thinking to the best possible extent, so that you and I can really achieve whatever we dream of, or even that which is beyond our dreams and comprehension. Now, let's talk about adversities. Probably we are in a time where we are witnessing a global pandemic. I don't think I have ever witnessed any kind of adversity like this in my lifespan, and I'm sure the same goes to you. Human history might have recorded a lot more adversities, but in today's dynamics, where the world has really become small in terms of our commutation, in terms of our communication, the world has really become small. And today, we are able to see the depth of this adversity called COVID-19 pandemic. It has upset everything that we knew once. Probably that is the whole reason that we are not able to physically be present and personally conduct these sessions, and we are all stick to our screens. When I'm talking about this, trust me when I say this, now that all that I can see is my own screen and I'm not able to see any of you, I don't even know whether you're listening to it. I don't even know whether you are understanding it. It is an adversity. Adversity which is a consequence of a larger adversity, which is COVID-19. Of course, the science fraternity and the medical fraternity is really working hard to get a vaccine. Maybe, hopefully, the day is very soon that we will all come out of this virus and we are able to get back to the normal or super normal, maybe in a much better way. But barring the COVID-19 adversity, if we generally understand adversity for a human being, I'm not talking about only engineers here, as a human being, these are the three adversities that we usually face: emotional adversities, economical adversities, and existential adversities. When I'm talking about emotional adversities, we all understand that we are emotional beings. As human beings, we have a longing to include someone else as part of our emotions. We always have an emotion towards our family, our friends. And when I'm talking about emotion, it does not necessarily mean a pleasant emotion. While love is a pleasant emotion, hatred is still an emotion, but it is just that it is unpleasant. Anger is also an emotion. Being peaceful is also an emotion. Something is pleasant, something is unpleasant. Every time we feel something which is unpleasant to us, we get into emotional adversities. We see a lot of suicides happening only because of emotional adversities. Love breakups, or somebody's passing away in the family. It does not matter what is the reason of separation. The moment somebody is separating from our life, we get into an emotional adversity. It is very, very important, especially at the age that you are in, to understand and to take charge of your own emotions. Because unless otherwise you develop a thought, you have no emotion. Say, for example, you meet a stranger, you don't have an emotion about the stranger. The moment you start thinking about the stranger, this person is good, this person can be my friend, or this person can be my companion, you will slowly start building your emotion. As long as your thought remains in that direction, your emotion also remains in that direction. The moment you start thinking, no, I made a wrong choice, he or she is not the way I thought they are, this is not what I want in my life. The moment your thought changes, your emotion also changes. Of course, thought is very dry, emotion is very juicy, because today it is a proven fact that when we are emotionally disturbed, we probably visit a psychiatrist and they will give us some chemicals in terms of pills which can build our own emotional system, because emotion is nothing but the chemistry that we create in our body. So the way we think about every day defines how well emotionally balanced we are. It is very, very important that you and I take charge of our emotional balance, because whether it is a good day or a bad day is totally dependent on how we are feeling on that day. For planet Earth and for solar system, it does not really matter. It is just a usual day. But on that day when I wake up, if it is my birthday, I probably will feel it's a wonderful day, provided everybody remembers and wishes me. If it's my birthday and I don't have anybody wishing me, immediately that day becomes bad for me. So this vulnerability of emotion will not help all of us to really deal with adversities which are larger than our own emotional adversities. Meaning to say, unless otherwise I am blissful and peaceful, I will never be able to do anything new. All that I would do is to somehow make sure I am emotionally pleasant. I may get into new hobbies for that. I may start reading a book for that. I may get into intoxications for that. I may get into a lot of other activities for that. But the whole objective will be to somehow keep myself pleasant. When I say myself, my emotions pleasant. When somebody's journey or when somebody's day and effort is totally invested in somehow keeping themselves pleasant, they are never going to do something big in the world. They're never going to do something great in their career. Just because your time and energy will be invested only in those activities to keep yourself pleasant. So emotionally, it's very, very important for all of us to understand and balance. When I say this, every morning when you wake up, I would definitely urge you to do this. Pay attention. Pay attention to the way you are feeling. Also, pay attention to everything that's happening in the cosmos. When you compare yourself to everything that's happening in the cosmos, our emotions are actually irrelevant. Our emotions do not mean a thing. But we as psychological beings, instead of being human beings, we become psychological beings and we exaggerate our emotions so much that we will start feeling bad about ourselves. We will start feeling bad about everything around us, and we will become hopeless individuals instead of becoming hopeful individuals. So first and foremost adversity that every human faces is his emotional adversity. All the suicides that we see today is majorly because of emotional disturbances. What do people think of me? How are people feeling about me? All these things have become great triggers for all of us to commit something which is not really appropriate. So very, very important that we understand that we are not psychological beings, we are human beings. When I say human beings, we are the most advanced species on planet Earth. And now, being most advanced species on planet Earth, if our survival and if our pleasantness becomes such a great challenge, then we will never be able to do anything great. Whosoever in the world whom we refer to as legends or people who have achieved great heights, if we look at them, one thing that they've taken charge is their own emotions. When I say emotion, for example, the way you think about your education, you may have chosen engineering because you love doing it, or you may have chosen engineering because the society feels that engineering is the way to go. You may have chosen engineering because your parents wants the pride of having an engineer daughter or son. It does not matter. But the way you think and feel about your education will help you to craft your journey further. It does not matter which reason you got into what you're getting into. But it does matter how do you feel about it today. If you continue to think this as a compulsion on you, if you continue to think that this is a forceful thing on you, you will never be able to feel good about it. Unless otherwise you come to peace with it, you will never be able to be a good engineer, right? So please start with your own emotional balance, starting from your family to your friends to everything that's very important for you. Understand and align your thoughts in such a way that you want to master it, and you will not allow the external situations to master your emotions. What do I mean by that? Your emotions should be in your control. No one else should have the remote control of your emotions, where they can play, whether they want to make you sad, whether they want to make you happy, whether they want to make you laugh. Then you'll just become a TV channel and they will just be changing the channels there. Whatever emotions they want to see, they can play it. Maybe pleasant words will make you happy, unpleasant words will make you unhappy. Don't give control of your emotions to anybody else. If you can do that, you will never have emotional adversities in your life. Whatever is the situation, if you know how to think and feel in that situation, you will use your intelligence to master the situation. You will use your intelligence to convert that situation or engineer that situation in favor of you. But if you do not know how to think and feel in a situation, that situation will engineer you, and you will succumb to the situation. You will never be the master of situation. The second adversity that I have put here is the economical adversities. We just had Cafe Coffee Day, owner Siddharth committing suicide. There are a lot of economical worries. There are a lot of economical misconduct or whatever it is. Cafe Coffee Day has been one place where a lot of businesses have started. Cafe Coffee Day has been one place where a lot of love stories have begun. Cafe Coffee Day has always been one place where friends hang out and we discuss a lot of things which is relevant and irrelevant. But the economic balance or economical adversities can lead to a drastic step of the founder of Cafe Coffee Day committing suicide. When I'm talking about economical adversities, economics is very, very important because we have constructed a society which survives and thrives on economy. Today, everything that happens is economical. The only reason for lockdown to open is not because the pandemic is over, but because economically all the countries are struggling. Unless otherwise we open up economical activities, there is no way to contain or sustain the societies that we have built, which in the name of civilization. So economic plays a very, very important role. Having said that, economical adversities is nothing but whether things are working the way I planned or it's not working the way I planned. I have invested my money into a business, into a startup, into something, for example. If it works the way I want it to work, I call myself a successful individual or an entrepreneur. If it does not work the way I want it to work, I call myself a failure. Please do remember Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and an opposite reaction, right? We can't really choose what happens to it. But as individuals, if we have the maturity to understand economics the way it is supposed to be, if we can understand economics as the ways of transaction towards the product and services that we want, and do not attach an emotional thing to the economics, then it is very easy for us to go through the downfalls and go through the highs of economics. Otherwise, the moment you're economically doing good, instead of money being in the pocket, money, power will get into the head. Then you will become somebody who do not want to be liked by anybody else. Or when things go wrong, instead of not having money in the pocket, you will have not having money in the mind, and you will start feeling so helpless and hopeless. So economics is an external activity, while emotion is an internal activity. Whatever happens outside of you should not bother inside of you. So the first point and the second point are totally, totally connected. Because even if I go back to the example of Siddhartha, it's not just the economical adversities that caused that. Economical adversities and the way he felt about the situation. Had he felt at that point in time that today economics is like that, tomorrow I can change it to something better. Had he had that emotion, he would not have chosen a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Just because we make economics also a lot of emotional activity for us, we end up facing a lot of adversities. I'm not denying that there are a lot of people starving today. I'm not denying that there are a lot of people who do not have the luxury and comfort that we have today. It is our responsibility as educated individuals to understand that we create economical well-being for the society. When I say that, as a progressive engineering student, if you are thinking post your engineering, all that you need to do is to earn a living, create a comfort for yourself, and make sure that your campus recruitment is taken care, and make sure that you earn your salaries in lakhs, and ensure that you enhance your lifestyle. And if that becomes your economical priority, then you are definitely bound to go through a lot more adversities. Simply because unless otherwise you have the real clarity what an educated individual can do for the society, what an educated individual can create towards the economy, where you build the nation, you build the world, then you will never have personal adversities in terms of economics. Otherwise, we will always be comparing my economics with another human being and seeing whether I'm doing better or am I doing worst. So in India, there's a popular saying, I'm not worried about what I have or what I don't have. I'm mostly worried about what my neighbor has and what they don't have. It's always about comparison. So most of the economical adversities that we face today is because of the comparison. Education is all about making you so competent that you move beyond comparisons. You become so unique that you can create what you want to create. The third point, which is existential adversities. We are all part of existence. We are all existing today. When I say we are all existing today, we all have limited amount of time. We have certain amount of energy. When you wake up in the morning, there is 24 hours given to us, and there is certain amount of energy that we wake up with. In combination of this time and energy, whatever we create in life becomes our existence, becomes who we are today. But this existential adversities in terms of global pandemic or something that's happening larger than ourselves, how do we handle these adversities? Again, this goes back to our emotional adversities. A person who is emotionally balanced and stable can live in hell and be smiling. He will also know how to make his way out of hell towards heaven. Otherwise, our situations or our larger existence will always look like a quiz to us. We will never understand what's happening and what's right and what's wrong. So when I'm talking about existential adversities, we may always wonder, what is the reason of life? Why are we here in the larger cosmos? What is the point of me being over here? As long as we exaggerate our personas, as long as we exaggerate our personalities, as long as we exaggerate our psychological being, we will never be able to understand that we are an integral part of existence. When I say integral part of existence, today, as we are sitting here, we are breathing just because existence is supporting us. Just because a tree is breathing, I'm able to inhale and exhale. Just because there is sun out there, everything is happening. So if we understand that we are a part of a larger cosmos, we will not exaggerate ourselves so big. And once we stop exaggerating ourselves so big, that is when we actually align to the existence. And then every adversity that we see as an adversity today will look like a greater challenge to enjoy. Because when you don't know how to handle a situation, it becomes an adversity for you. The moment you have a hang of situation and know how to handle the situation, it just becomes one more challenge that you can easily go through. So adversities, whatever the nature of the adversity, right? It can be a physical ailment or it can be a psychological ailment. It does not matter. But the only way to move beyond adversity is by making myself very clear about who am I, what am I trying to do. So given a choice, how do you want yourself to be? Stressful or happy? All of us keep struggling. Everything that we do end of the day is to somehow make us happy. Today we all understand that money gives us freedom. Money gives us freedom to afford. Money gives us freedom to have a lifestyle that we look forward to. That's why we're all behind money. Somebody will think having a companion, somebody who loves them too much, will give them the freedom to express their feelings. That is why they are behind love. Somebody feels that the moment they become famous, they have the freedom to do what they want to do. That is why they are behind fame. Having said that, whatever we are trying to achieve is end of the day, we are only trying to be free. Free from what? I began with the story of the camels. Camels are put in zoo by human beings. But you and I, though we are free, we suffer our own thoughts, we suffer our own imagination of tomorrow, we suffer our own memories of yesterday. So unless otherwise we are happy, there is nothing more happening. Being stressful in terms of adversity is just that my life is not the way I think it should be. The moment I think life is not the way I think it should be, stress is a natural thing that will happen to us, right? And when I say I think, how do I think? I think with the limited data that I have, the limited data that I carry as a memory. You as a human being, myself as a human being, we are the smartest gadgets in the universe. Just like our smartphones are better than smartphones because we are the ones who are creating it. Engineers who are sitting here, you are the ones who will be innovating. You are the ones who will be bringing out new technology into the world. So you are more smarter than the technology. But unfortunately, we have not really understood on how to make ourselves the best possible gadget so that we can produce greater things, right? When we say we think with the limited data, which is already stored in our memory. All our imaginations of tomorrow happen solely with the help of the memory that we have stored in ourselves. So all our stress is essentially because of our inability to handle our memory. Unless otherwise I know how to handle what I know, I will never be able to know what I do not know. Let me repeat it. Unless otherwise I know how to handle what I already know, I will never be able to know what I am yet to know. So whenever you are stressful, it is not the situation, it is not the people, it is not an external adversity, but it is the way you are thinking. And when I say you are thinking, it is only programmed or conditioned basis the memory that is stored within you. Not just the psychological memory, but memory stored in each cell of our body in terms of our reflexes, in terms of our information. So unless otherwise I understand the way I think, I will never be able to align myself to a larger possibilities that is there for me. So when we say being successful, I know how to think whatever the situation is. It is not just the economics. It is not just your marks. It is not what it is. It does not matter whether you are a rank holder. It does not matter whether you failed. If you know how to think when you have failed, if you know how to make a new way out of it, that is when you are actually successful. Because every engineer or every successful scientist, nobody created anything successful in the first attempt. After so many failures, that is when something new is born. So it's very, very important that as future nation builders, we understand how to think whatever the situation is. It does not matter whether it is pleasant. It does not matter whether it is unpleasant. It does not matter whether it is adversity. It does not matter whether it is uncertainty. Because life has always remained uncertain and it will continue to remain uncertain. What is that you and I can do? If we can align the way we are thinking about everything around us, that is when whatever is the situation that you are put in, whatever is the adversity you go through, you would be able to come out very, very successful. Happy individuals produce better results. You're creative when you're clear. I'm sure you all have experienced this. On a particular morning, if you wake up and if you're happy, even if your friend is crying, you're willing to give your shoulders to them. But if you are sad on a particular day, even a conductor of the bus asking for change will irritate you. Even somebody talking to you on the road will irritate you. Even if somebody is happy, that will irritate you. Somebody sharing a joke, that will irritate you. So unless otherwise you are happy, you will not be able to produce better results. When I say happy, it's not that everything around you is beautiful, that is why you are happy. It is not that all the subjects that you're studying is very interesting, that's why you are happy. It's not that all your lecturers are really, really getting onto your heart, that is why you are happy. No, that is not what it is. Your happiness is your state of being. It's not even state of mind. There are two different choices. You can feel happy or you can be happy. If you're always looking forward for feeling happy, you will always look forward to engineer the situations around you, thinking that if everything around me, if my parents understand me, if my friends respond to me, if my lecturers understand me, then I'll be a better individual. That is trying to feel happy. If you be happy, you know that come what may, unless otherwise I am at a certain state of balanced being, I wouldn't be able to create better results. So whatever is your mindset towards your education, whatever is your mindset towards your well-being, whatever is your mindset towards everything that is important to you, unless otherwise you are happy, you will never be able to produce better results. When I say better results, we as human beings are always longing to create something new. This has been the evolution of human beings. That is why we have become whoever we have become. Whatever is given to you, you really want to go an extra mile. Now, planet Earth has given us all these things, but that has not stopped us from exploring what is there on other planets. That has not stopped Elon Musk to see what he can do at Mars. So we are always longing to create something new. We are always longing to engineer something new. And how do we do this? Only when you are happy. Because if you are unhappy in a situation, as I told you in the first slide, you will only try and make happiness your goal. If happiness is your goal, everything that you do will be towards feeling happy, not being happy. And your creativity blossoms when you are clear. Unless otherwise, you have clarity, because the opposite of clarity is confusion. You are least creative when you are confused. We read the definition of engineering. There is an artfulness to it. And artfulness is actually a consequence of creativity. What do I mean by creativity? Everything that is not repetitive is creative. If you're not following an example of others and you are creating something on your own, then you're creative. The world has a lot of problems where you have to fix. The world really, really needs solutions that are creative today. The world, when I say world, it's nothing but the societies that we live in. We need to be creative. And creativity is a consequence of clarity. If you're confused, you will only try to repetitive. And confusion is mostly because of comparison. You compare yourself to others, you will get confused. You pay focus and attention to your own self, naturally you will become clear. Naturally, you will be very clear in terms of what you want to do in the world. So your creativity comes out of your clarity, clarity of the way you think, clarity of the way you feel. So these are my favorite 3 C's of excellence. I just spoke about clarity. We all have watched Ramayana during lockdown, I suppose. You know, the Ramayana got retelecasted and it happens to be one of the most viewed television show in the history now. In Ramayana, we see this episode of Lakshman being unconscious in the war and Hanuman is trying to get Sanjeevani for him. When Hanuman reaches the particular mountain to get Sanjeevani, he gets confused. He does not know how Sanjeevani looks and feels. He does not know how it smells. So he has no clarity about how Sanjeevani is. So instead of carrying a herb, which will be very, very light, because this is just like our tulsi, which is a herb. Instead of carrying a light-weighted herb, Hanuman ended up carrying a huge mountain on his shoulders. A lot of times we also feel that our education is like a huge mountain that we are carrying on our shoulder. Our life today looks like a huge burden sitting on our shoulder, because we are yet to realize how does this life-saving Sanjeevani looks and feels and touches, right? Or smells. So unless otherwise we have clarity in terms of what am I doing, why am I doing, and how do I need to do it? If we look at engineering as such, what am I doing? Yes, engineering. Why am I doing? You can have your own reasons. It can be that your parents wanted you to do it, that's why you're doing. Or it can be that society promises a good career for engineering, that's why you're doing. Or it can be that it gives you an economic stability in the days to come, that is why you're doing. Or it can be that I am clear that I can invest my energy and effort and time to learn this and engineer the world, because the world actually has a lot of problems. The moment the why is answered, it's very easy to fall in love with what you're doing. It's a very clear thing whether you're doing things out of compulsion or you're consciously doing it. When I say compulsively doing it, you will do it because somebody else is asking you to do it. You will do it because the society is demanding you to do it. That will lead you to confusion. You will never be able to love what you're doing. If you become conscious, why is that I'm doing what I'm doing? If you're very clear that human beings do not have to restrict our longing to only survival, and if you're very clear, by you being the wonderful engineer, you can actually become an asset to the entire existence, then you can't stop falling in love with what you're doing. How of the game is what has been taught in your academics, is what has been taught in your institution, right? The order in terms of how do you make yourself a better engineer. Again, that is a choice. Not every student understands the concept same. Not every student pays the same attention. Again, it goes back to the why. If you're very clear about why you are doing whatever you are doing, it's very easy to figure out a process of how do you really want to manifest yourself. how do you really want to bring out your skills? When I'm talking about skills, the next C is competence. Today, unfortunately, starting from our school days, we have paid too much of attention towards competition, not towards competence. Because we were all rated in comparison to other students' grade. We were all rated in comparison to what everybody else is doing, right? I'm sure you've all watched Three Idiots movie, which totally talks about this. So what helps an individual to succeed, especially in terms of adversities, come what may? If you have the necessary competence, then you are anyway employable. Then you are anyway willing to do something with your competences. You do not become dependent on the system because you will be able to engineer the systems. If you are competent as a student, if you are competent as an individual, you don't have to wait for someone else to come and grab you. The world needs competencies today. In every field, the world requires people with competence, right? Unfortunately, in this rat race of competition, we've all forgotten that we are lions. When you know you're a lion, why do you want to run a rat race? Leave the rat race for the rats. You be the lion. What does lion do? From its childhood, the moment a cub is born, a lion is not comparing itself with other animals and see, will I be a better lion? It is only seeing how does it develop its own competences. It is only seeing how does it enhances its own skills. So the second C of the 3 C's of excellence is building your competencies beyond competition, because a competent individual will not compete. If you are competent enough, you will use your skills to enable someone else win. Your victory does not have to come at someone else's loss. If you're competent, you will make sure that you go ahead to contribute towards everything. If you're not competent, you will always be insecure. And insecurity will lead you to confusion. The moment you are insecure, future looks bleak, you do not know what you can do. So the only way to address insecurity is by enhancing your competencies. When I say competencies, it can be your communication skills, it can be your engineering skills, it can be your core subject knowledge. At the same time, your emotional competencies. I'm repeating this because unless otherwise you iron out your emotions to a heightened level of clarity and perception, it is very impossible for us to make ourselves competent, because our ability to learn comes with the mood of learning. If you have a good mood that day, or even today, if you are in a good mood, you will probably be able to listen to me. Or if you're already in an irritated mood, everything that I'm saying would have already started boring you. You would have started thinking like, why the hell am I listening to this? So instead of focusing on what is there in it, you'll only look at your irritations. So it's very important that you also develop your emotional competencies in such a way that you become so strong that you're willing to learn everything, because willingness to learn is the beginning of learning. Unless you have the willingness to learn, you will never be able to make yourself competent. The third C is conduct. Conduct is nothing but the way you behave. You have clarity, you have competencies. But if you do not know how to conduct yourself, then everything goes for waste. Say, for example, in today's situation, if we have a doctor who knows what to do with COVID-19, but if he does not conduct himself in an appropriate way in terms of solving the problem, then there is nothing that we can expect out of them. So conduct is all about the way you conduct yourself with your friends, with your families, with your institution, with everybody around you, and most importantly, the way you conduct yourself within yourself. When I say that, the way you talk to yourself is the most important thing. If you start conducting yourself in a very affirmative way, every morning when you wake up, if you are very clear to focus on your skills and strengths and clarity, you will for sure come out as a very successful human to the entire world around you. But if you're always feeling and conducting yourself in a way where you're always hidden with your emotions and psychology and started talking about, I don't know, why am I doing, what am I doing? I don't know, why should I be doing, what am I doing? You will anyway reflect that frustration around you. So you will never be able to achieve great heights, because today's organizations require people who know to conduct themselves in situations, because with all the adversities that we are facing, the uncertainties are mounting high and high. It's not that this is new, but how do you prepare for something which is uncertain? It looks like a joke. If something is certain, say for example, you have an examination of a particular subject, If that is certain, you can prepare yourself. But if it is so uncertain, how do you prepare yourself? So it's very, very important that you conduct yourself very well. When I say conduct yourself, not according to the way society wants, not according to stereotypes of success, but pay attention to yourself. How are you behaving with yourself? How are you behaving with everybody else? The way you behave with yourself is the way you are with everybody. If you want to make best of the best friends, start by being the best friend for yourself. The way you want the best friend to be that for yourself first. Once you conduct yourself like that, you'll be a very easy individual to do anything in the world. Unless you are easy, unless it is ease, it is disease. If you are easy to conduct yourself, then everything you do will happen effortlessly. If not, every conduct of yours looks like carrying the mountain and looks like a hard work. This is all the difference between the smart work and the hard work that we have been talking for so many days. The way I conduct myself in a situation, do I need to struggle hard? Then it becomes very hard. If I know how to really conduct myself in this situation, it becomes very easy and swift and smooth. So understand that clarity, competence, conduct. Clarity begins within you, where you're very clear about what you know, what you don't know. Everything that you do not know, but you know that it is essential for you, build on that. Get acquainted with new skills, develop your competencies without comparing with others, without competing with others. Once you have the combination of clarity and competence, understand to conduct yourself in such a way that you become a solution in every situation and you are not the problem. Because most of us become the part of the problem. That is why we end up miserably failing. The car formula, we all love cars, especially the fancy cars, right? Adopt this formula in terms of adversities. CAR, change what you can, accept what you cannot change, rise above the situation. When I'm talking about clarity, competence, conduct, I am not promising that world is going to be rosy for you. If you really, really have a longing to achieve something great, it's even going to be difficult for you. But if you have an attitude of a clear understanding in terms of changing what you can, accepting what you cannot change, because these two are the realities of life. There are certain things which we can change. There are certain things which we cannot change. I can change everything about me, but I cannot change the way another person thinks and feels about me. What is that I can do? There is no point in trying to change the world around me. There is definitely no point in changing my friend in such a way that he becomes adoptive to me. There is no point in changing the dynamics of the game. But there are certain things which we can accept and live with it. Last but not least, R is to rise above the situation. Because if you are below the situation, every small adversity is good enough to make you go below, make you go low, and you will get merged in the situation. Only when you know to rise above the situation. Because as human beings, we have this ability to engineer situations. We have the ability to construct the situations the way we want. Only and only when we know how to rise above the situation, there is a possibility of us doing something about the situation. When I'm talking about the situation, I'm referring to the adversities that we're talking about. If you become part of the adversity, you are never going to come out of the adversity. You are never going to solve the adversity because you become part of the problem. Only and only when you are rising above the situation, you have all the abilities to look at the situation, to re-engineer the situation and make things the way you want it to be. So please feel free to change what you can, accept what you cannot change, and do rise above the situation. This is a favorite quote from my guru. This is not about being superhuman. This is about realizing that being human is super. Right? We've all seen Avengers. We've all seen all the superhuman movies that have come from America, which is terribly suffering from political ends to pandemic to economics to every aspect, right? Once upon a time, America was always looked up as something which is very, very superhuman capabilities. Now we are all seeing, right? For some, Donald Trump is a joke. For some, Donald Trump is a hero. But having said that, we have all looked at what happened in a country which has produced so many superhumans as such in movies. So it's very important for all of us to understand being human is super. Meaning to say, if we know how to handle our faculties, if we know how to construct ourselves, if we know how to engineer ourselves, then our life becomes super, because your life, end of the day, is your responsibility. What you can do in your life, what you have to do in your life, is not decided by the situations you live in, is not decided by the parents, is not decided by other influence, unless otherwise you allow the influences to shape you. If you take charge of it, you and I have all the necessary intelligence that is required to engineer ourselves. And once we engineer ourselves, it is very easy for all of us to engineer everything around us. Because today we live in a world which is engineered for our comfort, which is engineered for fulfilling human aspirations. How did all this happen? It has happened because of the human beings who have realized that they have the capability of moving around, of making things happen, of engineering things and creating greater results. So all of you who are in the forum, who will be the nation builders tomorrow, who will be the engineers who will construct the world to be a better place for the next generations to come and for the generations here, my sincere urge is that please pay attention. Please pay focus. It's not the academic focus that I'm talking about. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to your own capabilities. Pay attention to your own faculties without comparing yourself to anybody else. Whether you're dark, whether you're fair, whether you're thick, whether you're thin, it does not matter. You may have a family pack or you may have a six-pack app. That does not really matter, because your intelligence is not bound by the physiology of you. Your intelligence is way beyond, because we are all the products of the evolution, and nature has trusted us so much, it has made us humans. Now, if we understand that being human itself is super, we will be able to come out in any adversity and make sure that we engineer adversities as opportunities. Because for somebody who has his eyes wide open, he will be able to look at opportunities in adversity. For somebody who is always complaining and cribbing, even an opportunity looks like an adversity. So my sincere urge, as I told you, every morning when you wake up, remember the 3 C's. Do I have the clarity on how do I want to spend my time and energy today? Do I have the necessary competencies, or what is that I'm learning today? How am I conducting myself today? These 3 things, if it becomes a conscious habit of yours, every day will become progressive. Every day will become a super engineering day. Every day will become so enhancing for yourself. And when you are enhanced, whatever you do will anyway be wonderful, because the great things are done by great men or great people. It's not other way around. Just because they did something great, we don't call them great. Because they're great within themselves, they can construct and engineer everything to a great extent. So with that note, I thank you all for being patiently listening, or I suppose you've all listened to me because I'm only looking at the screen. We have 10 more minutes and I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Srinidhi, are you there?
Yes. Anirudh, we'll wait for some students or anybody else who is having some questions if they can ask. So the rest of next 5 minutes or so, we have time to answer for a couple of questions. So you guys can just unmute yourself if you have any questions.
And I would be glad to listen to your feedback also. If it made sense, I'll be very happy to know it from you.
Hello.
Yes, Manwant, I can hear you.
Sir, lots of people get into depression in life and because of their loss.
Yes.
How can they build in their courage and strength to try something new and get back on track in life?
Right. Wonderful question. See, first and foremost thing is, we don't have to build courage, because fear is something that we have to create. Courage is something that is natural for all of us. If you look at an infant, even if a snake comes, he's not afraid. He will just take it like a toy and play. Only because we create fear in ourselves, we look forward for courage. And when you're talking about separation, we need to understand ourselves the way we are, because you can never be separated physically. It is just an emotional separation that is happening. And what are we suffering? It's not the loss of the person who is lost. It is all about us, because even if we love somebody, If I say that I care for my mother, I care for my family, why is that I love them most than everybody else? Because I know that if they are good, I will be happy. If they are suffering, I will be suffering. So today morning we saw so many people died in COVID-19. That may not bother us personally, we may have empathy towards it, but the moment it is affected somebody who's close to us, it bothers us because our happiness is totally dependent on us. The very reason for depression is lack of clarity, as I'm repeating. Because if we are not very clear in terms of what is that I'm capable of doing and what is that I'm doing, because all our separation or our inclusion happens at the thought and emotional level. So it's very, very important that we educate ourselves. When I say educate ourselves, from school days, we would have been taught actually, but unfortunately, our education system has not taught this. So the major reason for depression is ignorance. When I say ignorance, not being being ignorant about the way I am conducting my own thoughts and emotions, right? Because I have personally have had my own episodes of depression. I went through a loss of my father at a very young age. I have had my own share of depression. So it took me a lot of time to realize that everything that I am cribbing today is not about the person who left me, but about somehow making myself happy and content. If I come to that term, then I'll be able to look at everything with more clarity, and I'll be able to see how do I construct myself than really making myself succumb to my own depression, right? So all that is needed is the right kind of education about our own self. I hope I answered your question, Manvant.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Inchira.
Sir, you said that we have to accept some situations which we cannot change,
Yes.
but there may be chance of changing those situations.
Yes.
And people oppose that not to do that. It is an emotional impact on the person who is ready to change it. So what it makes like confusions, or what he has to do in that way.
Okay, very interesting questions. See, always when you're making a choice, because human beings have this ability to decide. When I say decide, unless otherwise there are choices, there is no way to decide. Because we always have choice, we can decide. Whenever you have to decide, you need to see whether you're deciding on who or what. Meaning to say, if you're choosing an action, which is what, right? If you're doing it because you know that you can change it, you can do it better, you should do it, even if in case if it hurts somebody that you love the most. Because otherwise what happens, you will end up being a people pleaser, and people don't remain here forever, but the work that you do will remain here forever. If you do impacting work, say for example, SPB just left, and we are seeing the amount of grief that is happening towards SPB. Why? Even SPB has left, the impact that he has created on the world remains. If his father or mother stood against him and said that I don't want you to be a singer, and instead of choosing what he wants to do, if he had chosen who he has to please, he would not have been what he is today. Even when he has left the world, the impact that he has created continues to stay with us. So every situation where you know you can change the situation for better, and you can make it well for everybody around you. But if people do not have that kind of understanding to appreciate, and if they stand against you, all that you need to do is stick to what is right. Don't look at who is right. It can be anybody, it can be your family, it can be your friends, it can be anybody. So don't go behind people pleasing. Make the intention right, make the purpose bigger than people. Because if the purpose is well-being, if the purpose is to create something right and nice for everybody around you, it's okay. People will understand with slow, people will understand in their own time, and people will cooperate slowly as the time moves on. So make the purpose bigger than people. Right, Inchira?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who else have any questions? You can just unmute yourself and you can ask.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, you said you should not compare yourself with others, and you also said there should be no competition. You should prepare for the competencies, and you should go. But when the world is full of the competition and comparison, and it's ultimately like you are going with that and not with what you're doing. So how to overcome that, sir. Like
Okay,
the
fine.
world is full of like competition, and what you say is like what we hear is the competition and not on the work. So how to like
Right, I understand that. So let me correct the question a little. The world is not filled with competition. It is human beings who are filled with competition. Because if we look at the world, mango tree and banana tree are not in competition. Mango tree is not saying banana produces banana throughout the year. Why am I only producing once in a year? So let me also try and become like banana. Let me also produce my fruits. No, the world is not in competition. The nature is in harmony. It's only human beings. Why? Because we want to be better than everybody. Our success standard has become comparative. If I have a larger house in the entire colony that I live in, I probably consider myself successful. If I have a smart iPhone and when everybody else is using something else, I consider myself successful. If I drive a luxury car when everybody else is walking or riding a two-wheeler, I consider myself successful. As a consequence of that, we have really created a society which is depressing. Nobody is happy. As a student, we are not happy. As an employee, we are not happy. As householders, we are not happy. So what is that we are trying to create in the world? So the moment we get into comparison and competition, we are compromising a lot in terms of who we are and what we can be. What is the alternative? The only alternative is to make ourselves skillful in such a way that nobody should be able to compare themselves with you. If you can really go above everybody, right? Again, I'm not talking in terms of comparison. Without focusing on everybody, just stay focused on what you can do. What is the best thing that you can create on each day? If you stay focused on that, then you really, really do not need comparison. Then what happens? Stress is taken away from you. Once you're not stressful, your ability to perform actually is better, because this we all know. Be it Sushant Singh Rajput or Cafe Coffee Day Siddharth. What killed them? Their stress. Why? Their ambitions. The moment we are ambitious, stress comes along with that. But being ambitious is not wrong. As long as we understand that my ambitions does not have to come in comparison to others, my ambition does not have to come in competition with others, I will only look at making myself more skillful to fulfill my ambitions and any aspirations that I have. That is when we can actually create a society where we really have joyful individuals doing things that they enjoy the most and really are successful in true sense. Today, with all the human beings and human competing spirit that we call, and we created it, we have really created a very depressing world. And if you look at suicidal tendencies even among school children, it's too high. Do we really want to be like this? Do we really want to create a world like this? No, that is not the solution. If you and I decide that I will choose to do what is right, let other human beings who are yet to know what I know, let them continue. If I can influence them, great. If not, I at least don't want to fall into that trap where my success does not have to come at the loss of somebody. Because the moment you are competing, your victory comes with someone's failure. And that is not the way of nature. That is not the way of existence. It is our ignorance that has made us to feel like this. The world is not competing. Human ignorance is competing. So if we really go above this, and I'm not telling that when I say that don't compete, I'm not saying like sit back, laid back and be lazy. I'm not talking about getting onto the comfort zone. You have to make yourself a person of competence where whether somebody is there or not, you are who you are. Right, Ramya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yes, Inchira.
Sir, when we come up with some queries or questions, like we think of many solutions in the same probability way, like we have to choose any one solution, but we'll be having many solutions. How to choose the single solution, sir?
Okay.
Like we need only one to come up with.
Right. See, whatever is best for everybody. It's not just about what is good for me, right? Because there is no point in seeing whether this is good for me. If you can choose the best alternative, right? When I say best alternative amongst the many options, if you can really see that, will you be able to do it consistently, whatever you are choosing? It should not be that, okay, you're carried away with the glamour of at the beginning and later you will not be able to do. First thing is consistency. Will you be able to consistently do it even after 5 years, for example? Will you be able to stick to your decision even after 5 years with the same amount of passion that you begin with? Second point is, will that decision bring well-being to everybody who is concerned? it can be anybody who is the stakeholder. Will that decision create harmony and well-being for everybody concerned? If these two things are yes, will I be able to stick to this decision consistently? If the answer is yes, will this decision bring well-being to everybody who is concerned? Then you should choose that option.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Inshira.
Hello, sir. I have a question.
Yes, Vidyasagar, is it?
Yes, sir, Vidyasagar.
Yes.
Sir, actually, I personally lack in finding a good mentor, sir. So, how do you find a good mentor?
Okay, how do you find a good mentor? See, there are a lot of people around you, man, unless otherwise you judge your mentors. Because as a student, if I understand that I don't have the capability of judging somebody, when I'm a learner, I don't have to judge. So everybody and anybody around you can be your mentor, because everybody teaches you something or the other. And this reminds me, if everybody understands Kannada, we all have heard about Sarvagna. Sarvagna says in one of his vachana, he says, Sarvagna nembuvanu garvadindadavane sarvarinda ondond akshara kalitu vidyaya parvatave ada Sarvagna. Meaning to say, Sarvagna means one who knows everything. Sarva Agna. Sarvagna means one who knows everything. He says that everybody has been a mentor to me, and I have learned one alphabet from everybody and became who I am today. So don't look for a perfect mentor. You become a perfect student. When I say you become a perfect student, be receptive, don't be rigid. Don't look at who is saying it. Look at what is being said. If you just focus on what is being said, it can come from a beggar on the street. It can come from a rich man of the world. It does not matter. Don't look at who is saying this. Don't put credibilities and qualifications of your mentor. If you are really, really interested in learning, because mentorship is all about how well, how receptive you are to accept learning. Just make yourself so open. Be open to learn, and I am sure that each of your friends, each of your teachers, everybody will become somebody who will help you. And in the long run, maybe once you make yourself capable, you meeting the right kind of personal mentor who can groom you to excel will definitely become a possibility. But at this point in time, stay focused on the learning. Stay focused in terms of your capability, enhancing your capabilities to learn. Don't go on judging who is saying it. Look at what has been told. If you're paying attention to what has been told, every corner of the world has enough and more mentors on the world today. Right, Vidyasagar?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Is there anybody else who have any questions? Okay. As we have the time slot is between 11 and 12. It's almost 12:10 p.m. If you people have any other queries, I'll be sharing the details of Anirudh in the WhatsApp group or so. You can also personally write an email to him in which you can expect your reply for your question. So it was there's no words to describe. It was a wonderful session. I would like to tell it was very much energetic, inspiring, and also motivational. Thank you, Anirudh, for your wonderful session. And also, like, I would like to brief out about Thought School. It would take much time. Time is not sufficient. You can just Google about Thought School, because that particular institution, or whatever you can say, it is coming up with tremendous amount of human values programs and various corporate programs in several companies. So to the society, the thought school which is giving is very much tremendous. You people can also join Thought School as a volunteer. You can give your time over there, and we can have an extra session where he can tell what are all the works the Thought School is doing actually. So having all the time constraints, I thank you, Anirudh. We have for spending your valuable time with students and college, and it was a wonderful session. Is Mehak here? Mehak?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The session was very informative and helped us gain a lot of knowledge on different forms of adversities, how to overcome them, and the impact of it on our education. Especially when you mentioned about the CAR formula, change what you can, accept what you can not change, and rise above the situation. that really stood out for many of us, and I think we will be able to implement this in our life. So thank you very much, sir, for spending your precious time with us. Now let's end this session by thanking each and every one of you for spending your precious time on this informative session. Thank you, one and all. We appreciate you for being here. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. You have all been very patient audience, and thank you very much for giving me this platform and an opportunity to interact with all of you. I hope there is something that I have shared which will impact you. My humble request is don't ignore yourself. Take yourself very seriously, because you are the most important person in your life. Engineer yourself so that you can engineer everything around us. All the very best for your future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anirudh. On behalf of all NIT staff, students, I thank you again, one and all. And thank you each and every participant who have participated and making this webinar successful. And tomorrow we'll get back to the meeting again. Thank you all. Thank you.